and make different kinds of people. So these regions is where the different tribes emerged from back during ancient, even before Atlantis. They were all matrilineal back then, parthogenic reproductive process. It was in Atlantis where the male gender was incorporated into the human genome. And it was in Atlantis that the conclusion was drawn at the beginning so that we would know how to unravel the mystery. All of these mysteries have us confusing about the genetic stocks of the human family. We got different bloodlines from different family lineages. America is called the great melding pot or God's crucible, and people from all over the world have always came to these lands to tie into the vine. You remember Pop's talking about that, tying into the vine, right?
Right, and
Because right. So now you need a drop of blood. The drop of blood doctrine is the reference point. Understand what it is. Because if you ain't got a drop of tribal blood, you ain't from a tribe. So now they got people just saying they 132nd, they 555ths, you know, all these different extended, because they trying to tell you that they came and they got a drop of blood. By hook or by crook, they did it. So this give everybody the equal right to ascend, because if you don't have the earth drop of earth blood of the earth born, when the earth send out this pulse, it's going to turn off your genetics because it don't belong here. So anything that was created in the or altered in the laboratory is what's been bred back into the genetic stocks of the earthborn in order to have everybody have a rights of ascension. Right? So when we talking about, I was getting this message last week, and it sounded like Elijah Muhammad. And he kept asking me the same question over and over. Who is the Asiatic black man? Right? And I kept giving him the answer that the enrollment lessons say. The original man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. Right? So he said, okay, now you gave me the answer from the student enrollment. So who is the Asiatic black man? So I recited again. The original man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. Right? He said, okay. I want you to think on that for a while. So I'm thinking on the genetic groupings of the Roman Empire, whose jurisdictional authority and educational processes that we've been following. So who is Asia etymologically? Right? Them was the ones I sent you and I said we could start here. So
I got you, Rob.
while I was getting these downloads on the Asiatic black man in a voice that sounded like Elijah Muhammad, I was trying to figure out the means to put the information out on what platform and how I was going to do it. And the answer came back to go back to Young Elder Show. Right? And then the next day, you hollered at me. So when you realize that Asia is a term in reference to a body of land that was east, right, of Rome, right? So we be looking at this, say the origin of the name Asia is debated. That means that they don't have a comprehensive agreement on where the word Asia came from. But some possible explanations include the Assyrian word Asu, which
Mm-hmm.
means east, the
Mm-hmm.
Asian root Asis, which means muddy or silty, right?
Mm-hmm.
None of that don't make sense right now for it to be accurate. Hittite word Asuwa, right, which is a derivative from an Egyptian dialect, because you could tell by the way that the word is written.
Mm-hmm.
And originally used to refer to the part of northwest Anatolia. Now, Anatolia is the area around Turkey and Uzbekistan, up there in that part of the um, the continent of Eurasia,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now in the geography, the term Asia is anything that's east of Anatolia, which is today Turkey.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And it's an Anatolian region, extends down into some of your Arab countries,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then they say a local name for the plains of Ephesus. The name may have originated in a local name for the plains of Ephesus, which was later expanded to refer to Anatolia in the lands east of the Mediterranean Sea. So now the Mediterranean Sea is the point of reference,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's east of the Mediterranean Sea. The
Mm-hmm.
Greek term used to describe the lands east of their homeland. The term was later adopted by the Romans. So now we're talking Greco-Roman rule in determining the course, um, of events,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the term Asia was primarily used to highlight the difference between Europe and Asia rather than emphasize any unifying identifying among Asians. In other words, it wasn't to group the people together, it was to separate the land.
Mm-hmm.
Now remember, the first thing that you have to do if you want to govern the land is you have to assign what they call lines of demarcation. You
Mm-hmm.
got to have a line in the sand. Where's your territory and where's my territory?
Right.
So the term Asia is in reference to all of the people that live east of the Anatolia, right?
Okay.
So now this is where the Romans and the Greeks are Etruscans, and they fighting long drawn out wars with the people of the Anatolies, which was the Turks, and the Barbary, which was the ones, I think Barbary was west of Rome.
The Ottoman Empire, right? Is it the Ottoanians, the Ottoman Empire? The
The
Ottomans?
Ottoman Empire rose up on top of them.
Okay. Okay.
The Anatolians are the ancient stock of people that was there when all of this took flight. But over time, they became amalgamated with outside people, just like everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when we look at the average Chinese, Japanese, or Korean today, we look at the ones they show us on TV with the pale skin because those are what they call the whitewash renditions. Those are the ones who, the same way that you have pale face over here, they show them as American. It's the
Uh-huh.
same thing. They just
Uh-huh.
amalgamated with the lighter skinned groups of people. This was all being done in breeding programs under under the organization of labor forces by the Anunnaki.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And once you realize that all of the differences that was created was differences that was created,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when the differences are created, like these people roots do not trace back to Africa.
Go ahead.
These are the original Aryan people of India before Enlil children became the current royal class in that caste system. And his is those ones that we see that look like the drawings of Aladdin
Mm-hmm.
in India,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So these was the original people in India,
Mm-hmm. The Hindus.
right? These are called Dravidians or the Untouchables today. They got a couple more names, which is in the receipts that goes over into who these people were, right? So there are multiple matches for Chinese people. Okay, so this is talking about when I was going over that we've been doing trade with the royal families of Asia
Uh-huh.
on the Pacific and with the Africans on the Atlantic. This goes to the Pacific side, right?
Uh-huh.
They name General Jing He and the ancient Chinese people that migrated to the Americas because they know who these people are,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
He have maps of coming to America across the Pacific in his tomb, right? Zheng He, a Chinese Muslim admiral exploring during the Ming Dynasty, who said to have sailed to the Americas before Christopher Columbus. This is one of the um, more current travelers that came from Asia to the Americas who brought women as brides for the royal families of the Americas.
Mm.
So this is why when they brought they $5 Indians over here, they was able to blend in with the ones that we had intermarried with
Mm.
and take on their customs and their traditions, and they learned it in Indian school
Mm-hmm.
where they teach you how to be an
That's
Indian.
right. That's why we dropped that receipt already. I got that
Yeah.
receipt short.
And
Yeah. So
that's why you see all of those Asian looking ones, because this is how they was planning to replace us. If we don't figure out who he is, then the next ones in line to receive the inheritance is the Native American.
mm-hmm.
But we organic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we talking about the different groups of people, this is a group of people right here called the Anu out of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? These are the bloodlines of Anu, what they call the Golden Dragon Clan.
Okay, go ahead.
They got a different genetic stock from everybody else. But they all got common denominators as a human avatar
Hmm.
with all of the other groups. But what separates them right here, the Y-DNA haplogroup D, specifically D-M55, which is found predominantly throughout the Japanese archipelago, indicating a close genetic connection to indigenous Joman people of Japan. This haplogroup is considered a unique marker for the Ainu population, setting them apart from other East Asian populations. So this is a trait that's carried on the
Mm.
Y chromosome because Anu's children is descended by the father line. That's why Enki was able to get rank pulled on him by Enlil, right?
Hey,
So
connected to the Jomon people. That's a cone head.
okay, so now genetic evidence suggests the
The whole
Ainu are closely related to
Hun.
ancient Jomon people who inhabited the Japanese islands. So these was the mother lines now, because remember they was tracing the father line. That's Anu line that got stranded here in the Anunnaki
Mm-hmm.
War.
Mm-hmm.
Now they sent children over
Uh-huh.
here to marry into the native line. And those was the
Mm-hmm.
ones who became the mountain shamans in the Rockies. And they began to be teachers to the people in the Appalachians, but they all lived in mostly seclusion in small communities. They was the wise men of old on the land that we went to help solve human problems when we ran into abnormal human conditions. Right? This is the
Mm-hmm.
bloodline, the Anu bloodline. It's a high priest bloodline
Mm-hmm.
on Earth, right? So when you talking to Dalai Lama, the Dalai Lama is the extension of the Anu bloodline, and that's what makes him have his position and rank.
Mm-hmm.
So these
Mm-hmm.
are tribes that's marrying women into the Anunnaki clans. And this is why
Mm-hmm.
you get a different Y group. That's like Genghis Khan had a sizable portion of the Y chromosome of the Earth. Like 1 in 7 men got his Y chromosome
Damn.
because he was a royal family and he had a untold number of children. Right? But what was his general complexion? He was about my complexion.
Right.
But he had 8 ether hair,
Still
right?
to it,
Eight
right?
ether
Go ahead.
wavy hair, right? So when you looking at Genghis Khan, then you got his son Kublai Khan. They spread in what's known as the Mongolian Empire. They the ones that's fighting with the Romans.
Okay.
And also the Romans is fighting another haplogroup coming out of the Huns family, like Attila,
Okay.
right? And Attila the Hun was a arch nemesis to Vlad the Impaler. Who do you think them people was they was impaling,
Right. Go ahead.
right? So in the peace settlement, under Attila the Hun's reign, the Romans came to a peace agreement where they had a cross educational program where they exchanged students to learn each other's culture.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
Romans is proficient in using people's culture to conquer them by their natural habitation,
Mm-hmm.
meaning the things that they do by nature, right? That's why they got everything is illegal.
Mm-hmm.
And although the Ainu of Japan have traditionally considered descendants of the Jomon or past or post Jomon Satsuman people indicated by the D or the D2 gene marker. See, they're giving you specific markers on the genome that they making reference to when they talking about these different haplogroups of people,
Mm-hmm.
right? They have been found to carry the Y chromosome DNA haplogroup C3, showing a paternal lineage to North Asia, including Sakhalin, right?
Okay.
So now they telling you the isolated origin where this family line was preeminent or dominant. This is the family lines that the last remnant remaining in its purest stock form is the Ainu,
Mm-hmm.
because they live in a secluded community in the mountains of Japan.
Hey,
But
real quick.
you have these other similar bloodlines that live in the mountains of Korea, the mountains of China, and they all what we call heavily melanated people.
Hey, let me ask you something right here, Rod. So would it be safe to say that the scientists they know that all humans are not from Earth, or all of the genetics or chromosome information is not all just earthly, or it's got some kind of foreign or off world or some other different type of
They
marker
they
on the
tell us
DNA?
in code.
Uh-huh.
They tell us in code. You ever heard of the missing link?
Yeah, the missing link.
Okay, so the missing link is several points in the progressive evolution of the Darwinian theory.
Mm-hmm.
You got to remember that it's the Darwinian theory,
Yeah, Darwin. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
Darwin.
then this is talking about something else. But hold on, before I get to this right here, I
Okay.
got to go over the Darwin theory of evolution and explain
Okay.
to you what the missing links are.
Okay.
So, in the fossil strata, there is a sudden shift in the genome and in the fossil record from what they call the Neanderthal
Uh-huh.
to the um, um, from Neanderthal to Homo erectus, there's a sudden jump. in
Uh-huh.
the abilities of or in the structure of the bone, but they don't know what caused this jump.
Uh-huh.
They telling you they don't know what caused it because they ignoring the fact that it's written about in Sumerian tablets, and they don't want you to know that.
Right. Go
So
ahead.
the next evolutionary missing link comes in when the Homo erectus becomes suddenly Homo sapien, and
Right.
they overlap each other. Right.
Go
So
ahead.
now you got two different species of hominid walking the planet at the same time. But the
The man
Homo
and mankind.
right, so Homo sapien outlived Homo erectus according to the fossil record.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't know what happened that caused them to disappear, whether they was absorbed into the sapiens or whether the genetic stock of erectus just died off.
Uh-huh.
Right? So then we have what we call Homo sapien, which means the intelligent man, a Latin term telling us that it was written in the schools of Rome. Latin
Mm-hmm.
was the Roman language that the Moors wrote for scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
So they call them Homo erectus, which means upright